In this lecture, we will discuss another piece of legislation or enactment made by the Indian Parliament, and that is the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019. So, it was the very outcome of the landmark judgment delivered by the Supreme Court in National Legal Service Authority versus Union of India, which was decided in the year 2014. So, the very act defines who is a transgender person under section 2, subsection K of the act. So, the very definition of a transgender person as defined under section 2, subsection K, transgender person as one whose gender does not match the gender assigned at birth. It includes trans men and trans women, persons with intersex variations, gender queers, and persons with socio-cultural identities such as Kinnar and Hijra. Intersex variations is defined to mean a person who at birth shows variation in his or her primary sexual characteristics, external genitalia, and chromosomes or hormones from the normative standard of male or female body. So, now we'll go to another aspect, that is relating to prohibition against discrimination. As under the Act, we found under chapters 2 to chapter 6 of the Act regarding education, employment, access to public, then right to movement, right to property, then opportunity to hold office. So, these are the important prohibitions against discrimination of transgender persons as provided under chapters 2 to chapter 6. So, the Act prohibits the discrimination against a transgender person, including denial of service or unfair treatment in relation to education, employment, health care, access to or enjoyment of goods, facilities, opportunities available to the public, right to movement, right to reside, rent, or otherwise occupy property, then opportunity to hold public or private office. Further, it also provides regarding right of residence, and in particularly either in family or household, then rehabilitation centers, then right to employment, both either in public or in private sectors, then right to education in all educational institutions, then right to health care and health facilities and even medical insurance. Then the certificate of identity, which should be provided by the district magistrate of a district. Then we'll discuss regarding the very welfare measures, rescue and rehabilitation of transgender persons, their vocational training, self-employment schemes for transgender persons. Then we will discuss regarding the very offences and penalties as provided under chapter 8 of the Act. So, also, there is the formation of National Council for Transgender Persons as provided under chapter 7 of the Act. So, right to resident as provided, every transgender person shall have a right to reside and be included in his household. If the immediate family is unable to take care for the transgender person, the person may be placed in a rehabilitation center on the orders of a competent court. And regarding employment, no government or private entity can discriminate against a transgender person in employment matters, including recruitment and promotion. Every establishment is required to designate a person to be a complaint officer to deal with complaints in relation to the provisions of this Act. And regarding education, educational institutions founded or recognized by the relevant governments, either in state or center, shall provide inclusive education, sports and recreational facilities for transgender persons without any discrimination. And as regarding health care, the government must take steps to provide health facilities to transgender persons, including separate HIV surveillance centers and sex reassignment surgeries. The government shall review medical curriculum to address health issues of transgender persons and provide comprehensive medical insurance schemes for them. And regarding certification of identity for a transgender person may make an application to the district magistrate for a certificate of identity indicating the gender as transgender. A revised certificate may be obtained only if the individual undergoes surgery to change their gender either as a male or a female. And those welfare measures why the government consists the relevant government will take measures to ensure the full inclusion and participation of transgender persons in society. It must also take steps for their rescue and rehabilitation, vocational training and self-employment, create schemes that are transgender sensitivity and promote their participation in cultural activities. And as regarding the offences and penalties as provided under Chapter 8 of the Act, the following offences against transgender persons, such as forced or bonded labor, excluding compulsory government service for public purposes, denial of use of public places, removal from household and village, physical, sexual, verbal, emotional or economic abuse of transgenders would be considered as offences under the Act. Penalties for these offences vary between 6 months and 2 years, even a fine. And as under Chapter 7 of the Act, which provides the establishment of National Council for Transgender Persons, which will consist Union Minister for Social Justice as chairperson, the Minister of State for Social Justice as vice chairman, the Secretary of the Ministry of Social Justice, one representative from ministries including health, family welfare, home affairs and human resource development. Other members include representatives of the Niti Aayog and the National Human Rights Commission. State governments will also be represented. The council will also consist of 5 members from the transgender community and 5 experts from non-governmental organizations. The council will advise The central government as well as monitored the impact of policies, legislation, and projects with respect to transgender persons. It will also redress the very grievances of transgender persons. So the very Act, Transgender Persons Protections of Rights Act 2019, that we have discussed in this lecture, was the very outcome of the landmark judgment delivered by Supreme Court in 2014 in the important leading case, that is National Legal Services Authority versus Union of India.